So the other week I did a heat press review for a 12-inch heat press from LOKLiK. They also sent me the Auto Tumbler heat press to try out and review and have a go with. So I have been having fun playing around with different ways of using the heat press. I will share with you the ways not to use it as well as the ways to use it, but it is such a fun little press. Now, if you're going to get a tumbler press, it is an investment. You have to consider the fact that the cost of the machine is one part of it, but there is a lot more to it that will add to your bill. So it depends whether you want to go full on into this and if you have great exciting plans, because I did have to get a second printer that could hold sublimation ink. I also need to buy sublimation products, and I'm still working my way through buying some more items to sublimate with, but you cannot sublimate with just any old product. It has to be sublimation ready. It has a special coating on it, so you cannot just get any old mug or any old tumbler. They have to be specific for sublimation, as well as your printer. Your printer needs to have sublimation ink in it, and therefore you may need to invest into a new printer or upcycle an old one. My original plan was to upcycle my older printer, but the problem is that I fell in love with it the more I tried to use up the ink, and I barely dented the ink, and I did over 1,000 prints of colored printing. And I did donate a lot of these prints to various people who needed printing done, but I barely indented the ink. So I went along to Costco, and Costco had a big back to school sale. And they had these printers on for £140. And if you looked at the rack, there was a little extra ticket on the top that said you could get another £40 back via online. So this printer cost me £100. It was cheaper than the one that I bought used on eBay that I was originally going to repurpose and add sublimation ink into. So I've unboxed the heat press, which came with gloves and heat resistant tape, as well as your instruction manual. I've unboxed my printer, and I'm doing a quick little flyby on how you fill it up. I bought some sublimation ink called A-Sub, which I also bought the same paper of. So I've got A-Sub paper and A-Sub sublimation ink. And it's dead easy. You just put the little nozzles on the top and then you squeeze them into the containers, and you can see the ink filling up, so you know when you've got it nice and full. Super easy to fill in. I thought I was going to have to do a bunch of changing of settings and playing around before this printer would print with this ink, because I've seen some people saying they work and they don't work, but it works beautifully fine, and I didn't have to do anything other than to fill the ink in and start going. So the bottom printer is the one I got off of eBay that I was planning to repurpose into sublimation, and I fell in love with it, and now I'm just using it as a normal printer. And the top one's got the sublimation ink. So you could see the difference there in color. The sublimation ink is a lot more pastel looking, and regular ink just looks all black. So be aware that your ink needs to be sublimation ink in order for this to work. So when you're getting started with your sublimation, you need to think about a design. I went on to Canva because I pay a subscription for that, and I decided once I found this cute quote for a mug that I would do a mug for my husband. So I was thinking, I love that little quote. So I thought, let's put my face on there. I wanted to test out this mug press. I wanted to see what it could do. I wanted to see how clear it was, the colors, how it would look. So I thought, let's do some font and let's do my face. So I've cleverly thought about this. I love the little quote because I often am quite grumpy in the morning. And I thought, I'll stick my little apologetic face on the other side of it. So I literally just took that picture while sat at my computer trying to work out what to do and how to best try out my mug. Now, originally I thought I'd pop it into the Cricut design space, because I know that on there you can do the mirror image and print it out, because I was struggling so much with working out how on earth could I mirror this. But when I did it this way, I found that I couldn't actually adjust my print settings. And I know that when you print anything that's a photo, you want a really high quality resolution, lots of extra ink in it to make it a beautiful sort of image. Now, I clicked on the system dialog button here, and all it did was this. It did preparing to print for a few minutes. It did not work. So I went to my trusty Mac version of Microsoft Word and put the photos in there that I had downloaded off of Canva. And then I can go into my settings and change them. And while I was changing my quality settings, I noticed that it had mirror image in it. So it doesn't actually change it on your print preview here, but when it prints out, it is mirrored. So it did work. So I'm going to do that for now until I work out a better way, watch some more tutorials and figure out what to do. But here's the one that I printed through Cricut Design Space with the print then cut. And here's the one that I did with my Mac Microsoft Word version. And you can really see the quality difference. It's a lot clearer when I slowed my printer down and added more ink. Now I did another one. I went and found this sort of background image on Canva, and then I added some text over the top of it because I thought I'll make a mug for myself to remind myself to bloody focus. I'm pretty sure I've got ADHD. It takes me a long time to get any work done. Normally when I go and make a cup of coffee, I do the laundry, I water the plants, I check the mail, I tidy the living room, and then 2 hours later I go back up with cold coffee to start work. So I thought I would make myself a mug that says to focus. Now, I accidentally did this again a bit too small because I kind of guesstimated my measurements rather than just get out my measuring tape and figure it out. So you can see here, I'm going to line it up on my mug and it doesn't quite reach all the way around the mug, and that bugged me. So I could just leave it so it was a centered kind of thing, but I thought, no, I want to get this almost all the way around the mug. I know the heat press won't press all the way up to the handles, but I wanted to get as close as I could, so I decided to go with 9 inches. And it's so nice and easy in Canva because I can just say I want it 9 inches by 3.5 inches, which is roughly the size of the height of my mug. And then when I go to hit print, it will be those sizes when they print out my printer. So I put on this one, crack on, and focus Sasha. So whatever way I am looking at my mug, it's going to remind me to get on with work, get on with YouTube, get on with filming, and have fun. Now, I wanted to put my image onto my mug and I've got to tape it down, but obviously the handle is kind of in the way and it doesn't allow you to sort of center it if the handle kind of flops about. So I just grabbed my glue and popped it under the handle to kind of make my mug so it wouldn't rock and roll around on the desk. And then from watching other YouTube videos, I know that you need to take off any gunk off of your mug, which is what I'm using the lint roller for, and then tape the living daylights out of it. You do not want this to pop up at all. You want it to be nice and secure. So you want to make that image really, really tight on your mug. So I felt like this was a good first trial run, having a picture, having some font, and then having a nice big background to kind of look at as well and work with. This one was a bit more fiddly. I decided that actually I will put it down flat on my surface, my work surface, and then I will put my cardstock as flat to the bottom as it would go, and then tape it as tight as I could, and then do all my edges. So just make sure you've got that heat resistant tape going all around your mug and holding those images down, because otherwise you will get a bit of blank space. And now I did get a bit of blank space on this one. You'll see at the very, very end, but I think it's because I needed to rotate my mug and just do it probably a few more seconds as close as I could to the handle in the other direction. So I plugged in my machine. I'm going to turn it on. I am not quite 100% sure about my heat settings. I will email them just to double check, but here it looks like it says I need to put it on for 400 seconds or 420 seconds at 190 degrees, but it felt like a really long time because a lot of things online said for about 3 to 4 minutes. But 400 seconds is obviously longer than 3 to 4 minutes. So I did lower the seconds down to about 300 seconds. And I did wonder actually in the end if maybe it was a bit too hot and that's why my color wasn't as good and wasn't as vibrant. I'm not totally sure. But I love the end result, don't get me wrong, but I really want the vibrancy to be more. So I'm going to play around with my settings and I'm going to do another video with you guys and hopefully do some insulated tumblers as well and kind of share with you what I learned along the way. Now the mugs is the best way to start because it is the cheapest way to do it. So I'm going to insert my mug, I'm going to push it all the way to the closest part of like towards me because you can see that little wall comes out and pinches it and it looks like it's all good. And this one worked out quite well because my images were fairly central on either side. So I got a nice even pressure. It does it automatically for you. You can pop off, go make a drink and come back and then it should hopefully be done. Although you probably shouldn't leave anything that heats unsupervised, but I did go and get myself a little glass of wine and came back. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off all the tape. The tape is nice and easy to peel off because it's all warm. Make sure you're wearing your insulated gloves because it is so hot to do. And now look at this. How great did that turn out? I'm so pleased. I love how that looks. And then this is the kicker. My husband's left-handed, so he's got to hold with his left hand and he's got to look at my face when he drinks his coffee. I am totally giving this to him tomorrow morning, but not telling him. I'm just going to give him this mug and give him his coffee in it and see what he says. But I love it. Oh, and it's also going to come to him when he's in the middle of meetings. That's the mug I'm going to give him to have his coffee in. Right, so moving on to the second one. This is the one where I went quite close to the handle, and this one did get a bit of fading closer to the handle, but again, you can see here it's squishing down. What I might do is just turn it the other direction and pull that handle again closest to me and do it a few seconds longer and see if that helps, because it's more or less on one side rather than both. So you can see that fading just there. It's not 100% perfect. It's not as bright as I was hoping it would be. It's kind of looking a little bit muddy, but again, that might be I put it on for too long, maybe not long enough, maybe not hot enough. So I will play with those settings and I will try and work it out. It might also be the quality of the mugs. The mugs might not be a great quality because I went for the cheapest ones I could find on Amazon while I try this out and play with it. But I love how even it looks. I love that it worked. It's so much fun. Now, also something to bear in mind is these are not dishwasher safe. So make sure you're hand washing these mugs because I think it does fade in the dishwasher. So hand wash only. So I've done those two mugs. I'm so excited to give this one to my husband with my face on it. We'll see how he reacts. Now, what not to do. I chickened out at first and I decided I would do heat transfer vinyl on my basics mugs from Asda. I got these for 60p and I thought, let's do that and see if they're dishwasher safe, and that's all that's left. So heat transfer vinyl is really not for the sublimate, or is really not for the mug press. It doesn't work. It will go on, but the minute you start to wash it, it will peel off. You really want permanent vinyl if you're going to do a mug like that and then hand wash it. Now here's one I did earlier. I whipped it out. It was my first one I did, and I dropped it off to someone as a gift already. So I wanted to say thank you to someone who looked after my son in Holiday Club this summer. So that one went out my door really fast and I didn't get to share it with you on here. But here are some closer up photos. They do look like they have white spots on them, but there's no white. It's just my lights reflecting on the mugs. But I am so pleased with this mug press. It's worked really well so far. It is really user-friendly. One thing I also want to point out though, before I go any further, is that you do need to pay attention to the sizes or the thicknesses of your mugs or tumblers. This mug press only does so wide, and these mugs were at the maximum width for this tumbler press. So be aware that you need to make sure that if you want to do a variety of mugs, that you're looking and paying attention at what size of mugs you want to do and whether this will work for you. I'll link everything down in the description box below for you. I hope you had a fun time with me, and I can't wait to share some more projects with you. Take care and have a great week.